All right, 8 months ago, I did a video that was entitled, I've Escaped from Apple. And the video was about how and why I'd left the Apple ecosystem. And as someone that was a relatively long-time user of Apple's products, like both their MacBooks and their iPhones, it was a relatively big move for me. So I switched over to the OnePlus 7 Pro. The main reason why I switched over to this particular device was the display. It had this 90 hertz display, well, it has this 90 hertz display, very fast, high refresh rate that just makes stuff look very smooth. And when I first used this phone, and I think this applies for any consumer or reviewer that just looks at a phone that has a high refresh screen, it looks remarkably smooth in comparison to something that is like the traditional 60 hertz. But then over time, you question, does this high refresh screen have an actual benefit? Does it bring an experience that is truly useful for the average person? And I will say that my opinion of these types of displays, these faster refresh screens, kind of shifted over the past 8 months. Okay, I'll explain. The majority of time that you're looking at your phone, you're doing stuff on your phone, you're either looking at a still image or text because you're focusing on the content, or you're watching a video that's probably playing at 24, maybe 30 frames per second, occasionally 60 frames per second. Even Twitch streamers, they can go to 120 frames per second sometimes, but most Twitch streamers, even the most popular ones, stream out at 60 frames per second. So the vast majority of content that you're consuming on your smartphone is going to be at 60 frames per second or slower. It's really only a handful of games and mainly the UI that take advantage of the 90 hertz. And a fast UI is nice. I mean, a lot of people talk about how it's like super important, but is it really though? Like, it's nice to have, a faster refresh screen is smoother, but it's not a game changer, I don't think, at least. Not until the content and everything else catches up to display higher frame rate stuff. The other thing I liked about the OnePlus 7 Pro is the software. I think it has the best iteration of Android out there. I prefer it even over what Pixels offer. It's super clean, but it also gives you this level of customization that I just like. Like the fact that I can stick this icon pack onto this phone without having to download an extra launcher, the fact that I can change the UI colors, like it's something that I like, and I just really like the software. The other thing I noticed about this phone, the software patches. A lot of phones get frequent software patches, but I feel like with OnePlus, they frequently update features on this phone that I actually care about, like the RAM management, the camera, the accidental touch detection on the screen. There's a lot of stuff that they've done to make this phone a better experience for me personally, and I love that. I think OnePlus does their updates really well. I also want to talk about the build quality in this phone. I came from an iPhone 10, a steel-framed phone, to an aluminum-framed phone, and this stuff is soft. Like, I've bumped it a few times, I've dropped it a couple times, and it scratches very easily, and I've actually cracked the back glass on it. I mean, that's what you get when the phone is cheaper, I get it, but it's something that, if you're an iPhone user and you're used to that durable steel frame, it is a more fragile device. But the good thing is that it's cheaper, way cheaper to repair this thing than an iPhone. Like, this is, I think, $80 to $100 for repair, whereas an iPhone 10 is significantly more expensive because you have to replace the whole back of the phone, not just the back glass. The camera. So one of the other prominent features of this phone is that it doesn't have a front-facing camera. Well, it does, but it's not built into the screen or the bezel. It's a pop-up. And that's also one of the features that I was drawn to when I switched over to this phone. But I've noticed that it's been more inconvenient than I thought it would be. Like, just the whole pop-up mechanism is a little slow when I'm video conferencing, and I do it pretty frequently. You gotta wait for that thing to go up and down, and it's okay, but going forward, I don't know if I would go for another phone that did the pop-up mechanism because of just my personal use. Now, the OnePlus 7 Pro has been an awesome experience over the past 8 months. It's an easy phone to recommend, easy brand to recommend. They do a lot of stuff right, but I feel like the initial reason as to why I switched over to this phone was a little bit short-sighted. That whole pursuit of like higher refresh, higher frame rates on my phone screen, it's cool, it's just not a lot of content out there takes advantage of it. So if you're in the market for a new phone this year in 2020, because a lot of brands are pushing out high refresh screens as like a flagship feature, think about the stuff that you use your phone for and whether or not a high refresh screen can actually take advantage of it. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thumbs if you liked it, subs if you loved it. See you guys next time.